I'm Fathery.
This is Dave.
And this is Tex-Trek.
Engage.
So welcome back aboard the Starship Texas for the 83rd installment of the Tex-Trek podcast, the home for Star Trek fandom from deep in the heart of Texas, where we talk all about Star Trek old and new. And tonight is a very special night for us. This is our State of the Franchise address,
In which we will tell you how you should feel about everything Trek going forward, or something.
Yes, this is the second time we've done this, where this is a yearly time when we just stop and reflect on what's going on with the Star Trek franchise as a whole. In a celebration of the anniversary, September 8th, we have just wrapped up the 53rd year of Star Trek.
Crazy, man.
And we're going into the 54th.
That's nuts. We were about to enter a time when there was more different Trek productions, discrete Trek productions than ever before at one given time, right? Surely it has to be.
Yes. There are going to be 3 Star Trek shows on the air next year, which has never, ever, ever happened. In 1 year, there has never been 3 shows.
Yeah.
We've done 2, but never have done 3.
Even though one of them will be a baby cartoon.
And, it'll be an adult comedy cartoon.
That's true.
But there is also going to be
the all ages one.
The Nick Star Trek, Nickelodeon Star Trek.
Does that have a title yet?
No, but that's not coming out next year, but the wheels are turning on that.
Right.
And there's also the Section 31 show that is supposedly going to start production next year. So yeah, there is for sure going to be more going on with Star Trek than we've ever seen before.
I got a quick question, and maybe I should save this for when we're talking about the animated stuff. But, you said adult animation, and I know it's not going to be adult animation, but is it, are they going to have any swearing at all on that?
I'm sure, yeah.
You think so? They backed away from it on Disco.
I mean, they still say, you still have, in Season 2, you have Pike saying, we're flying into a shitstorm, and, it's like...
Yeah, I guess I
more
hadn't...
PG-13.
I hadn't actually considered that might be the case on that. I don't have any problem with it. I was just... it hadn't gone past my head. That there will be a little bit more of that... I mean, it's I know it's the showrunner from Rick and Morty, or one of the guys, right?
One of the writers.
Yeah, one of the writers.
Mike McMahon.
Yeah, so that sort of makes sense. Anyway, on with the show. What do we got first?
Well, the big hot topic that everyone wants to talk about is the CBS Viacom merger.
Yes.
And a lot of people have been hoping for that for years. The reunification, to use a Star Trek term.
Yeah. Brokered by Sarek and his son, I believe.
From beyond the grave, Mark Leonard and Leonard Nimoy arranged it.
Yeah.
Or James Frain and Ethan Peck. That's the biggest deal, and that's going to have a major effect on the franchise moving forward.
How big do you think this is compared to previous Star Trek initiatives or changes in the behind the scenes productions?
I mean, it's hard to say because we don't know what they're going to be doing on the movie side of things. Mm-hmm. I should explain that the reason why this is important is because for people who don't know or don't pay as close of attention to what's going on behind the scenes, but Paramount Pictures or Paramount Studios, whatever, they have the film license for Star Trek. They distributed all of the 13 Star Trek movies, and CBS, which is a separate company from Paramount, does all the TV stuff and owns the actual franchise. And Paramount being part of Viacom, and now with Viacom and CBS merging together, everything will be back under one roof again. but we don't really know what their plan is movie-wise. So it's hard to predict. But yeah, we'll go into more detail with that in a bit. But before we dive too far into the undiscovered country, the future of Star Trek.
Yep.
I would like to just take a moment to reflect on this last year in Star Trek, which we saw the introduction of short treks, which short film Star Trek was a new thing for the franchise. We had our second season of Star Trek Discovery, and of course we still had tons of tie-in material and licensing stuff. So I just want to go through some of our highlights of the last year, some of the things that we really enjoyed Star Trek related.
For sure.
Like for me, I think the biggest thing was, which was a big one for a lot of people, and that is Anson Mount as Captain Pike in Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah. So well received that, by the end of that season, there was already discussion of a spin-off show.
Yes.
Serious kind of discussion, with the actual production teams talking about it in at least loose ways.
And I'm so frustrated that they haven't greenlit that already, or at least, confirmed that it's something that they do want to do.
I love his Pike, and it does seem like it'd be a weird missed opportunity if they didn't pursue it. But at the same time, it would become one more show set in roughly Kirk's era.
Yeah, but Discovery jumped the boat out of the 23rd century.
Yeah.
So
they can come in and take their place.
Yeah, there's kind of a vacuum there now.
Fair enough. Back in the day when, I was... in the 80s when I was first getting into sort of Trek fandom, and I was maybe right after Star Trek 3, and I was reading the novels and the comics and stuff like that, everything that you got was all set in, it was either circa the 60s era or, circa the movie era for that same crew, and there was almost nothing else to even conceive of. So it's pretty natural for me to kick back in that era. It's just there's so many other possibilities that there's some small part of me would regret them not pursuing a show that's just in any other era.
I can see that. However, we only had 3 seasons set in that time period. I mean,
true.
There's still plenty of fertile ground to explore there, and I love Anson Mount Pike. I love Ethan Peck Spock. I want to see that crew on that Enterprise. That beautiful set that they had in Season 2, even though it kind of is hard to justify why the Enterprise bridge looked like that at the time.
It looks cool.
There is a weird refit that happened between that and TOS Season 1. But
you tell yourself that if you need to, but to me it is just simply slightly different visions of the same place.
But that doesn't make sense, but whatever.
Creative visions. It's a slightly meta thing you got to wrap your head around.
But I want more of that.
Sure, absolutely. I do wonder, I know this would be kind of fan wank, but I kind of want to see Pike run into some of the same places and characters, at least a little bit, that Kirk and crew did, and see how he would react differently. What sets him apart as it makes him different. And also, but yes, I wouldn't mind seeing just new visualizations of some familiar places. I don't want it to be all fan wank, but I wouldn't mind a little fan wank.
Yeah, a little bit of that would be cool. And also, with all these Star Trek shows that are so unique and different and boldly going where no Star Trek show has gone before, with stuff like Disco going to the far set future 1,000 years further down the timeline, or Picard being radically different and focused on one previously existing character, or a Section 31 show, or a comedic show. Having a show that is just kind of like a standard Planet of the Week,
right,
self-contained episodes, kind of the same format as a TOS show. I think that would be a cool addition.
It could be the super watchable comfort food of Star Trek.
So I think there's definitely a space there for that show to exist.
It's also counter-programming to the Orville.
But
I know we're not supposed to speak it.
Well, this would just be actual Star Trek.
Right, and not some third-rate Xerox. So, I know Xerox is not a word that people use anymore. I still used it.
That's fine.
Right.
Google it if you don't know what Xerox is.
All right, so what else are your highlight reel?
We also had on the comic side of things, I loved the one-shot we got from IDW as part of their 2020 line with Peter David and J.K. Woodward, the Star Trek Next Generation prequel about Picard and Jack Crusher on the Stargazer.
I think that's my favorite recent comic to come out from the Star Trek line. I mean, J.K. Woodward is sort of, I feel like, almost beyond reproach as far as his art goes. He will make you hear those characters' voices in your head when you're seeing him, but he'll also, like, if they're introducing new elements to it, he will draw it such that it feels like it fits in with the era, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the story of the first meeting of Crusher and Picard.
Of Beverly Howard.
Beverly Howard, right?
Before she's Beverly Crusher. And Jean-Luc Picard.
Does Jean-Luc have some hair roaming around on his head in those days? I can't quite remember now.
Yeah. This is before his balding took place.
And and it's a slightly contentious first meeting between them. It's they do not immediately have sparks, but there's something.
If any part of you is a Picard Crusher shipper, then for sure check it out. Or if you just love the...
Well, it's a chance to go, like indulge in a little bit of classic Next Generation era. I mean, slightly prequel to it, but you're going to feel like you're getting, like, a little lost Next Generation moment. What could have been a flashback episode.
Yeah. Or if you just want to see, like, people in the maroon monsters on the Stargazer, or if you just want, like, a good, self-contained Star Trek story written by Peter David, one of the most talented and prolific comic book writers
and Trek writers,
business.
and Trek writers in particular. He's also had his hand in so many Trek novels and stuff.
And we also had, comic book wise, we had the Q conflict.
Yep, that was fun. I think did we both agree the ending kind of petered out? Maybe.
Yeah, it might not have lived up to its full potential, but it's such a fun story. If you want to see the crew of TOS meet the crew of Next Generation and the crew of DS9 and the crew of Voyager, and all have kind of a us versus you type of story.
Yep. With an interesting thing where, like, it's not quite the every crew for themselves. It's almost more like they chose up dodgeball teams. The various godlike entities that they're having to fight a proxy war for, and you end up with every crew is a mixed integrated crew of from all the different crews. And it's super fun to watch how they bounce off of each other. Almost every issue had, like, several scenes where I was like, oh, what a cool idea. Oh, yeah, Chakotay wouldn't get along with so-and-so.
And they give a bunch of characters opportunities to shine, and it's fun.
Yeah. It's a graphic novel I would recommend. Honestly, it's a bit more about the ride than the conclusion anyway. That's just almost baked into the premise of it.
And I gotta say that, like, one of the biggest moments of the last year in Star Trek was actually seeing the Star Trek Picard trailer from Comic-Con.
Yeah.
That gave us so much with just surprising us with, like, the inclusion of Jerry Ryan, bringing back 7 of 9. Just the simplest things, like seeing Picard with that TNG movie era comm badge. Or the fact that Hugh is coming back. That's such a small character, only appeared in 3 episodes.
What was it? 5,000 some odd days since their last assimilation. It looks like a Romulan commandeered Borg cube or something like that.
Yeah, there's multiple theories out there about that,
but like there's some fun stuff like that to speculate to speculate on, as well as these like.
Seeing a Borg cube again was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't seen one of those since Voyager went off the air in 2001.
Yeah, I found myself tearing up at least once or twice during that trailer, which I did not expect to have happen.
I mentioned it, I think, but I was watching it, like, screaming out loud every time it showed something cool, and my dog was about to have a panic attack.
Poor Pip.
Which I totally, like, I don't typically react like that.
Yeah.
I kind of make fun of people who do go, like, that fanboyish over just, like, the simplest little things, like
normally you're a robotic automaton.
I'm a fairly passionate viewer, but I just don't go ridiculous.
Right.
Unless it's something that is ridiculously awesome, like the Star Trek Picard trailer.
Right. Then you became, like, you were, like, sports fan in the stadium then.
But, yes. But yeah, it was the 53rd year of Star Trek. Was a very fun year. I like having short treks. I think there's a lot of potential there. I like a lot of the tie-in material we're getting. even though I had some issues with Star Trek Discovery Season 2 towards the latter half of the season, there's a bunch of stuff in there I really dug, like Pike and Spock, and also some of the stuff they did with the disco crew themselves. With still loving Tilly. I'm still a big Burnham defender.
Yep.
Go ahead and at me. Saru still a fan favorite at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of am hoping season 3 will give us more spotlight on him, since he did have to make way a little bit, and Tilly did too, for some old school for Pike and Spock. Understandably, but yeah. I still love seeing the Telosians.
I dug that episode. I love seeing the flashback to the actual episode, The Cage.
Oh, right, when they're previously on.
Yeah, which is one of the longest spanning recaps in TV history, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Doctor Who did one recently that was also went back to the 60s, but
that's pretty cool.
It was and just having new Star Trek again, I still haven't quite gotten used to it after that long ass dry spell where all we had was 3 Kelvin movies and nothing on TV. So I'm still just excited to have new Star Trek.
I think it's going to feel surreal to me up until I actually see the first episode of Picard, of Star Trek Picard. I'm not going to quite believe that there is, new stuff set that is extending the continuity left off with Star Trek Nemesis until I see it. I know it's coming. I don't literally mean that I don't believe it's going to happen, but my mind hasn't fully accepted it.
Well, I think that's when we'll really feel like we've gone back home.
Right.
We're back in the Berman era, pretty much.
A little bit of trepidation. You don't want them to fuck it up.
But I have faith in the writers. I have faith in Michael Chabon, who's the official showrunner now, and some of the things he said, and how he's a big continuity whore like I am, and how he loves having a long history of canon that he can pull things from, like Hugh the Borg.
Yeah. That is an indicator of if that is sort of meant to be sort of a bit of a keynote moment, then that means they are going to be paying attention to continuity. I'm glad that it has reinstilled your faith of the heart.
I don't need that theme song though, or anything like that in Star Trek Picard. So
never gonna.
What if it's like a remix of that?
I hope it is a dubstep version of it.
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be some modern TV pretentious opening credit sequence with provocative graphics that you don't quite understand the meaning of. And
do you think that they might actually go that route of where it's really just it's very short? There's almost nothing, and it just goes right into the show.
That's not how streaming shows. The only things that do that are things that come on normal TV, where they don't want you to change the channel.
Yeah, doesn't the CSI and stuff like that have really very brisk super intros?
Yeah, no, I guess things that come on normal. I mean, those shows are old, but things like Flash and Arrow and anything that comes on your normal broadcast TV.
It's also
they don't do opening credit sequences, but things that come on HBO or Netflix or Hulu, they all have these big pretentious.
They're Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. It's just a thing with the media. They don't want you to change the channel, but if you're watching on a streaming service or something,
they're you're in for a penny, in for a pound.
Yeah. Basically.
Makes some sense.
I promise you Picard will have a opening credit sequence.
Star Trek does have that tradition, unless they want to subvert it. Unless they want to deliberately subvert it.
I promise you they won't do that. Especially with them saying it's a slower paced show. It's going to be less actiony than Discovery. They're not going to have that.
Let's make a gentleman's bet on it. Let's bet $1.
I'll bet you everything I own against everything you own and your soul. That's how confident I am.
Okay. I have no confidence in this, but I'm willing to take the bet anyway. I believe it is going to be one of those as short as the Flash thing, essentially a musical sting or a logo, and then boom, we're into the show.
Okay.
All right. Okay, hold us to this. Remember, when I'm trying to hold on to my soul after this has ended, remind me, viewers, that I need to give to Fathery.
But we will go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. CBS Viacom, the new entity that will come from the CBS Viacom merger.
Now that they're a monstrous conglomerate something that Disney has to at least pay attention to now.
I don't think Disney's really too concerned with what's going on, but it does kind of reduce the possibility of either one of these entities being gobbled up by Disney.
Yeah.
Which might be a good thing depending on how you feel about Disney taking over all of Hollywood. But I mean, one thing to be concerned about is typically I don't like these big corporate mergers. Just like they're not very good for working people. I promise you there's going to be layoffs. There's people at like CBS and Viacom now that are sweating, like worried like if they're still going to have a job in a year.
Is that just going to be like a standard thing for any merger? There's not like, if the companies, if this makes Star Trek a bigger thing, will that not bring in more people? And I know there's other stuff in this too, like Mission Impossible, I think, as a franchise, and some other franchises in the mix.
I mean, I've never heard of a merger where people didn't lose their jobs.
Yeah, that's true.
But the other thing is just like, these corporations get like so big and so powerful, and you have like fewer entities in Hollywood. So like there's fewer people to go and like for new creatives to pitch stories to or get jobs and stuff like that.
It's in some ways it's part of that general trend towards mega franchises. On the other hand, Star Wars was working on that franchise stuff when some of these newer franchises were just a glint in their daddy's eye.
But just to go over like the history of like how we got to here with back in the old days, Star Trek was
the 1960s.
A little bit after the 60s.
Okay.
Because like Star Trek started out like produced by Desilu Studios and aired on NBC, and then Desilu became part of Paramount, which was a Gulf Western company, but then it became part of the massive Viacom Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it used to be like Viacom owned Paramount, Paramount owned Star Trek.
Right.
And everything was like that for a long time until 2005, in which Larry Nemecek, a.k.a. Dr. Trek, has a very good explanation about this, where he calls it like the divorce. But essentially, in 2005... Paramount or Viacom, I should say, and CBS, the CBS network, the CBS studios, all of that under the CBS umbrella was also part of Viacom, and they decide to split away and become two different companies. The old Viacom became the CBS Corporation, and they kept all of the TV side of the Star Trek franchise. And Paramount went and became part of the new Viacom, and all of the movie rights to Star Trek resided there. And so you had like the big divorce where Mama CBS, as Larry Nemecek calls it, they still have like custody of Star Trek.
Right.
They still owned the franchise, but every couple of years, Dad Paramount
got visitation.
He got visitation. He would take Star Trek out to the movies. Would get like a Kelvin Star Trek movie.
Right.
And there wasn't really opportunities for synchronicity between the two.
Right, I was going to say, had they wanted to, could they have had a discernible continuity between them?
Depends on who you ask. They could.
I mean, arguably they did, because the Kelvin movies do take place in the same universe as the show.
Yeah, it's just like a different timeline.
Right. But there's certainly no interactivity in any traditional sense.
They totally could have done that, but it would have, like, you would have to have a movie or a show that, CBS approved of, and then if you're doing something like movie related, like Paramount, it would be a lot harder to have that synchronicity.
Right.
So like you're having to go to like more different people for approval, and
right.
You have like
enough stuff to cause a lot of creative headaches.
Yeah, you have more fingers in the pie at that point. But this was also, the dark era where we didn't have any Star Trek on TV after the Enterprise cancellation in 2005.
Right.
Because of Les Moonves, who was the CBS Corporation CEO, and he was a big proponent in the split, in the divorce, because then he could go be CEO of CBS, and all the Viacom, Paramount, and all of everything that falls under that umbrella would be separate, but he would still be CEO, top dog of CBS.
Right.
And he's also responsible for canceling Enterprise and bringing us the 12-year gap of no Star Trek on TV.
And a lot of sexual harassment.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a minute. But It was under Les Moonves that Star Trek was brought back when they wanted to have a new Trek show on CBS All Access, and this is why we got Star Trek Discovery. But then Les Moonves did indeed step down or resign. I don't think he actually got fired, but he
maybe under pressure.
Yeah, he did get in trouble for some sexual harassment, assault.
Actually, now that I haven't looked into that side of it in a while, I know it was enough to make me think of him as a scumbag.
Yeah, it sounds like he was a nasty dude.
Who also, I remember reading an article about him, like making like sort of false promises to women, sort of almost like gaslighting type stuff, torpedoing designing women back in the 90s. Lots of behind the scenes stuff that kind of came out that he was sort of making these misogynistic moves. Anyway, he sounded like an asshole, a great asshole.
So he was gone, and it was fun. It was funny being at Star Trek Las Vegas just back in August when I was at Connor Trenier, who played Trip Tucker on Enterprise, and he's talking about how it really sucked when Les Moonves canceled our show, but looks like he got his just dessert. So he was kind of enjoying that this had happened.
That's good. It's good.
So he's gone. So with him gone, the opportunity for a remerger was an option again, because he was one of the big guys fighting that. There were powers that be with Viacom and CBS that kind of did want to remerge. So Les Moonves, the scumbag, is gone, and at this point, they decided to go ahead and go through with the merger.
Yep.
And so now we're going to have CBS Viacom. And with Moonves gone, they had, I believe his name is Joseph Iannio was put in charge. I'm probably saying that wrong, but he was the temporary CEO at CBS. So he's going to stay on with CBS Viacom as the chairman of CBS. He's going to be running all the CBS side stuff, CBS All Access, the CBS Network, a lot of the TV stuff. And then the Viacom CEO, Robert Backish, is going to be CEO of the entire company, CBS Viacom. And the reason why I bring these two guys up is because they've both have stressed in recent interviews and stuff that Star Trek is a big part of this merger, and that they have a desire to really push that franchise.
That's kind of exciting. We live in the post MCU days. Now that the sort of the Marvel universe has been out there and has been so amazingly successful for Disney.
As a big shared universe, keeping everything in continuity, and that's why people...
And they've maintained a quality level, which I don't think anybody expected, and which, frankly, other attempts at that kind of shared universe product have failed at. Or no one has lived up to Marvel's potential.
Yeah. I mean, Star Trek kind of did it before Marvel did.
Sure.
But yeah, like in the 21st century, it kind of hasn't been done on that level by anyone.
So there's a part of me that's a little bit afraid of this. I don't want Star Trek in a way to need to be as successful as the Marvel movies, because I think in some ways it may thrive as slightly the redheaded stepchild of big space opera productions, massive summer blockbusters. I don't know if I really want them to become blockbuster level, because then I feel like you're gonna get dumbed down stuff. You're gonna get action Trek.
Yeah, or I like to call the Kelvin movies popcorn Trek.
Yeah,
and I think they're fine if you just look at them as that.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are. We've liked them all to varying degrees or made our peace with them, but it is a different vision of Trek, and they definitely lost something that was really, I feel, fairly integral to Trek. You had to kind of change gears to enjoy them.
Yeah, there is this danger of oversaturation.
Sure. But at the same time, the possibilities are really cool.
Well, especially after so many years of so little.
Right.
I at this point, I would rather run the risk of doing too much than not doing enough. If I have the opportunity to have 12 Star Trek shows on the air at this point, I say go for it.
You're ready for the Star Wars model where you got a ton of books and some of them suck and some of them are pretty good, but overall there's just a lot of product. You're ready for it?
Yeah, I mean we both grew up comic book guys. They're the big two in comics, Marvel and DC. There might be 60 titles coming out, and maybe a third of them are good.
Right.
And you got some that are just kind of on and off, and then some of them that are terrible and unreadable.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the status quo. I don't think Star Trek's going to get to that point, but I think we're hungry. I think the appetite is there for a major expansion of the franchise.
There's kind of a part of me, and this is just maybe this is the kind of the needy geek who wants approval, maybe, but I want more people to like Star Trek. I recognize I don't want it to be Star Wars. It shouldn't be Star Wars. But Star Wars has so much more sort of broad fandom. It'd be nice, and Star Trek tasted that with the Kelvin. That's definitely with the Kelvinverse. That's for sure part of what happened there.
It was kind of temporary because then each one of those movies made less, so
Right.
it didn't stick.
Right. And that's the thing is I don't know if they have anything to offer that can make it stick. Although Tarantino's crazy ass R-rated Star Trek movie could be that thing. That makes people think I thought Trek always had to be people discussing, aliens discussing parliamentary procedures for the reintegration of the Romulan Empire. I didn't know that somebody could get their head phasered off.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I do want to talk about the Tarantino stuff when we get into the movie possibilities here in a little bit. But it's not just the possibilities for new shows and new movies, but the gears have been turning on this for a while. Mm-hmm. Because last year, John Van Sitters, who was the head honcho of CBS marketing or their any type of their tie-in material, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to make a Mission Impossible toaster or something it has to go through him. But he is a huge Star Trek guy, and he's one of the reasons why we have the level of quality of Star Trek merchandise and things like the role-playing games or the Eagle Moss ships and stuff like that. He's very hands-on with all that stuff.
Right, they've got a pretty solid standard going on.
In 2018, he was promoted to Vice President Star Trek Brand Management,
mm-hmm.
and given a lot more authority, from what I understand, from what people have told me who work in CBS, have all said that this was a huge deal, a big deal for Star Trek. And some of these people I know well enough to really trust them on this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what a star fucker!
I don't know if any of them are stars. But,
he will be presiding over the cool tribbles that you saw prototypes for at Star Trek Las Vegas, right? The on the merchandise front.
Yeah, he actually is involved with the stuff that Science Division is doing. That. Mm-hmm. I actually have an interview with those people that I plan to release as a YouTube video in the near future.
Nice.
But they also started, back in May, the Star Trek Global Franchise Group, headed by Veronica Hart,
mm-hmm.
who is reporting to Alex Kurtzman that, from what I understand, this is going to be a way for us to have, relevant new merchandise tying into all the new stuff that Alex Kurtzman is doing. And I know that there was some rumors of, I don't know when this was, was it a year ago or so or whatever, that Alex Kurtzman has been fired. No, he hasn't been fired. He hasn't gone anywhere. He has that 5-year contract. They're greenlighting his shows left and right. He's essentially the Rick Berman of Star Trek now.
Pretty bulletproof.
Yeah, at least on the TV side. And with this global franchise group, we're going to be getting new tie-in material, new merchandise to tie into.
Did you say tie-in material? You're talking about like books and comics and stuff like that, and then merchandise means we're gonna get Lower Decks figures, or
I hope so. That'd be
cool. Picard in his winery hat, action figures.
They're already kind of on the ball with this stuff with some things, because when they first showed the disco T-shirts that Burnham and Tilly are wearing in Discovery Season 1.
They moved fast on getting those out.
It was later that week you could order those from StarTrek.com.
It's pretty smart. Those shirts are dope.
In Season 2, when they had the one with the gold lettering that was the command training program version, it was later that night I got an email from StarTrek.com that you can order that.
You know what they need? Honestly, I'd be all over. They do need a few little bits and pieces of merchandise for the Picard show to be hitting in the weeks in advance of it.
Well, that's not unlikely, because we do know that we're also getting a prequel novel and a prequel comic coming out before the show even.
Yep.
So
Already had a few people signing up for subscriptions for that at the comic shop I manage, Rogues Gallery Comics in Round Rock, Texas.
That's awesome, and we'll get more into those momentarily. So it definitely sounds like these corporate overlords at CBS and Viacom, who I don't really trust on making creative decisions. I think they're just going to do whatever is going to make their shareholders the most money, because they're actually legally obligated to do that. But it sounds like, fortunately, they, at this point in time, are putting Star Trek first.
Right. It's nice to hear that, you know? You don't necessarily always hear that with Star Trek.
Yeah, because I remember going all the way back to when DS9 was canceled. When we went from having 2 shows on the air to 1 show on the air. And then after Voyager, we only got 4 seasons of Enterprise. Then we got no show. Then we had to wait so long for a movie. So going all the way back to, I guess, 1999, I feel like we're getting less and less Star Trek.
Right.
Until the last couple of years.
Yeah, Disco is the flagship of CBS All Access.
And now every year it seems like we get more and more. So this is kind of the opposite of what happened in the late 90s going forward. This has a bunch of possibilities for cool stuff in the movies, and we don't know if we're getting another Kelvin movie, but I promise there's definitely going to be another Star Trek movie at some point in time. So let's just talk about movie possibilities.
Okay.
The Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie, which sometimes gets a lot of publicity. I know a bunch of people were talking about it kind of when Tarantino and some of the actors in his last film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they're kind of making the circuits promoting that movie.
Right, they were saying we will be in it and stuff like that. Brad Pitt was I will be in this, which would be huge if they did that, although weird, but I never thought this movie would be anything less than weird.
Yeah, and any actor in Hollywood is going to want to work with someone of Quentin Tarantino's level.
Yeah, that the comic writer Kurt Busiek, when he was doing Appreciation of the Hateful Eight a few years ago, was talking about how kind of meaty the roles were there. He's even the small roles seemed so fun. And he said, I remember him saying, I can't imagine any actor turning down an opportunity to work on a Tarantino movie. You have
Trek people coming out of the woodwork saying oh yeah, I'd love to do that. Even Shatner and Patrick Stewart were both oh yeah, I would totally do that.
Who's who plays Kelvin versus McCoy?
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, I think, was talking it up too. All those guys are kind of excited about it.
Yeah, and apparently the script that they have that they're thinking about Tarantino possibly directing would involve the Kelvin actors.
It had time travel stuff, right?
Well, that was another script.
Oh, okay.
We don't really know anything about the Tarantino script.
It hasn't leaked yet.
No.
If it does leak, are you going to read it?
No.
I might read it.
Well, shame on you. You're gonna spoil yourself.
What I mean is, I'll probably do exactly what I did with Inglourious Bastards, which is read about 10 pages of it, think, all right, this sounds fun, and then put it down. So leave me alone, Father. Leave me alone. Well, I'll do things my way.
Okay, you do you. But even though I do kind of fear a Tarantino movie might be too wacky for Star Trek.
Right. Could be too wacky, could be too, kind of extreme, adult, egregious. The
weird possibilities that it presents, though, the temptation is so great that I do say go for it. And here's what I think that might be a good idea. If we're going to kick off a new era of Star Trek on film, it wouldn't hurt to have a incredibly enticing movie that the mainstream would get on board with,
right?
To start off this new part of the franchise. That would actually be best case scenario, and then if people who like that would probably stay on the ride for any sequels or spin-offs or different movies. You kind of want to create that brand loyalty, kind of how any movie that comes out. You mentioned Marvel earlier,
right?
Anything that has Marvel Studios on the trailer, makes money.
I also, there's a certain kind of a certain sexiness it's just going to add into it. It's going to make Star Trek seem cool in a way. Star Trek has always seemed a little nerdy, and a Tarantino Star Trek would make things seem a little cool. You can agree or disagree as to whether that's a good thing, or whether Trek needs that, but it would happen.
And that's very much what I think people credited J.J. Abrams with doing in Star Trek 09.
Yeah.
I remember seeing articles on like Sci-Fi Wire or Blaster or whatever it was called back then saying like, oh, look, Star Trek is cool again, and or cool for the first time, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
there's going to be some stuff there that's going to annoy me, but like if more people are overall enjoying Trek, I might be able to be like, whatever.
I mean, like I want it to succeed because I want to get like new Star Trek, and I want it to be good.
Has any major franchise ever had a director with such a distinct creative vision take over on their things? Like, there were notable directors in the Harry Potter movies. There's been notable directors in Marvel. Even if sometimes they're being team players, Kenneth Branagh or Taika Waititi and stuff like that. Yeah. They're kind of these are directors who sometimes come with a vision and they corral their vision a little bit to work with the team. And I don't think Tarantino would be corralling his vision much. Is there anybody else that you can think of who's ever done that?
Not on that level.
I can't think of anything.
And that is part of my fear, is that I don't think Tarantino is a guy who is going to compromise or sacrifice any of his creative vision.
No.
To fit in with like what the bigger Star Trek universe plan is.
I guess the closest thing I can think of is Tim Burton's Batman movies.
Yeah, but even then, he was kind of a small fry back then. He had done like Beetlejuice and Pee-wee.
But like, especially when you got around to Batman Returns, those are very Burton-y. But at the same time, yeah, there's probably more Batman than we would, like now we see these movies with like a pretty high degree of fidelity. But even though they didn't do that, there was, a lot of stuff pulled from the comics, pulled from Frank Miller comics, even specifically in those. So they were probably more beholden to the comics than maybe we remember because of that strong Tim Burton stamp. But that's as close as I can get. And I think Tim Burton, he is not a small fry.
Batman Begins is a very Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a bunch of like flashbacks and non-linear stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But enough about Batman. So I do think like something big, like a Tarantino Star Trek movie, would be a good way to kick off the next era of Star Trek on film. But there's still a bunch of uncertainty around that, and it might be something that Tarantino decides he doesn't want to do. It might be something that CBS Viacom decides they don't want to go through with. So we'll see. But I think whatever they do movie-wise, they need something really strong right out of the gate. Mm-hmm. And we don't know if Alex Kurtzman will have an involvement with that, or they're just going to keep him separate on the TV side. But, I mean, if this is one of the key reasons of the merger, you'd think you would want that synchronicity I was talking about between the movies and the shows. And
do we expect to see what is probably going to happen, or no, we know is going to happen now between Marvel movies and the Disney Plus streaming service, where we will now have 3-4 shows that are Marvel shows that are directly linked to the movies in a way Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Netflix shows and stuff really were not.
We're using the same characters and same actors.
Right. And maybe even using them to inform the movies, which they'd never done that with any of the Marvel stuff previously.
The shows are informed by the movies, but never the other way around.
Right.
Unless you count Jarvis's cameo in Avengers Endgame.
Nobody does. So that would be interesting. We could see if they wanted to, disco crew members showing up, or either time traveling to the Kelvinverse, or in some way being referenced, having a scene in a flashback. That could be the norm. Or some new show, Picard could get they could do a Worf spin-off movie, and then it'll impact something on season 3 of the Picard show. That kind of thing is within strong possibility.
Yes.
Yeah. Exciting and dangerous territory.
Yeah, but we did have movies and shows at the same time that were kind of connected
in the 90s.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, so, sure.
There's definitely a little bit of a franchise precedent for that. It would just be cool to see them do it.
It's honestly because the level of ambition has been raised by Marvel.
Yes.
That I would be interested to see how it comes out. And again, slightly nervous.
But not only is there possibilities to get new Star Trek movies, but also something that's been talked about a lot is the Nick Trek, the child-friendly Nickelodeon Star Trek that is currently in development.
How child-friendly? We talking Bobby's World, or are we talking Star Trek Rebels?
I would
or Star Wars Rebels?
I would think closer to Rebels.
That's what I was figured.
It's being developed by the guys who did Troll Hunters, Kevin and Dan Hagman.
Mm-hmm.
So I think something on that level, which I watched a few episodes of that show when I heard they got the job to do Nick Trek, and I thought it was good. I liked it.
Okay.
I didn't keep watching it because I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
For that, but I thought it was good.
Did you watch random episodes, or did you start from the beginning?
I watched the first 5 episodes.
Okay.
But there's also the likelihood of it also having a home on CBS All Access, because now Nickelodeon and CBS All Access are both going to be part of CBS Viacom, with Nickelodeon being owned by Viacom.
Yeah.
And not only are they likely going to be putting that show on the streaming service as well as on the Nickelodeon TV channel, but that opens the door for so much more content on CBS All Access. Viacom not only has Nickelodeon, but they also have Comedy Central and MTV and VH1. So there's a bunch of content that they could pull over onto CBS All Access, as well as the backlog of CBS movies.
So you're saying I could get VH1 behind the music?
Probably. I mean, this is the thing that we're kind of getting into with television now, is that the streaming wars. People are calling it the streaming wars, but no, there's only going to be 5 or 6 companies in Hollywood that own all the entertainment. They're essentially all going to have their own streaming service.
Right.
If you want to watch anything Warner Brothers, then you're probably going to have to get HBO Max.
Right.
And watch it that way. Anything that's owned by Disney, which includes 20th Century Fox now, you're going to have to get Disney Plus. And anything that's owned by Viacom, so any movie made by Paramount. So everything from Top Gun to Hunt for Red October to the 13 existing Star Trek movies. And, Nickelodeon shows, Comedy Central shows. If you want to watch South Park or whatever, you're going to have to get CBS All Access. I think that's what the CBS All Access is going to become.
It all sounds like a big headache to me. And it makes me glad that I don't watch too much TV. But I am going to keep my loyalties with Star Trek. So that one at least is assured.
And I kind of like having streaming services. I think they're convenient. Paying for 6, if we get to 6, I know Comcast is also going to do one, and Netflix is going to stick around for the time being, it seems. I don't know how long that'll last, but I don't know if I want to pay for that many streaming services, but I don't mind 3 or 4. I think that's I think they're convenient. I like having access to all that content. Mm-hmm. Even though I never have time to watch much of it, but I like to think that eventually I'll get around to...
Maybe we can lobby for longer days.
I'm not going to go into this tangent about how to remove part of the Earth's mass to slow down its rotation, but...
oh my god. This actually sounds like a Trek level premise, so yeah.
But we'll just skip past that. But the reason I bring this up is because I think this will grow the CBS All Access subscription base, and that could, if there's a bunch of content on there, that could kind of take people's eyes off of the Star Trek shows. But I think it's more likely this would get more people, subscribe to CBS All Access. It'll grow the Trek audience that way.
Right. They're going to be like, well, I guess I should check out this flagship show of theirs.
Yeah.
Even if I am an old guy who mostly was just watching this for NCIS.
But yeah, you're like, oh, well, this Brit Patty Stewart or whatever his name is, he's old too, so maybe the Star Trek Picard is good. And,
right.
You grow your audience, and if it's quality work, people will enjoy it and keep watching.
It's true.
So, I think there's major opportunities now to expand. Like what you were saying, you want to see the franchise grow and become more popular. I think it's likely. We got a good shot at making that happen. You just... The future of the franchise in general, I think beyond CBS All Access, and we do have these 3 shows.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's nuts. I think in order of my excitement for them right at the moment.
I was about to ask you.
I gotta say, even over Discovery Season 3 is Picard.
Absolutely,
it has to be. Sorry, Disco. I'm excited for you, but then it goes Disco. Then Unnamed Nick Show, because I want the more serious one and I don't like laughter. And then And then the lower decks. I think those are did I hit most of the big ones?
And then Section 31.
Yeah, probably then Section 31.
Out of the three that we're going to be out
Section
next
31
year,
will probably still be above lower decks for me. I'm ready to give it a shot, but it's just not. Still not hyped.
But I feel like we shouldn't put like all five of those together. Let's just go like the three that are actually going to come out next year.
All right.
So we have Picard,
Disco,
and
Lower Decks.
Lower Decks, and that's actually I'm more interested in Lower Decks than season 3 Disco.
What the?
I think it's weird going in like this future time. I'm not sure if I'm going to like it.
I'm also scared too.
And I really like everything I've heard about Lower Decks. I really like getting to see Mike McMahon and hear some stuff from him and the writers at Star Trek Las Vegas.
So is Lower Decks taking place like right after Star Trek Nemesis, or
yeah, it's set like Nemesis is in 2379. Lower Decks is 2380.
Okay. So that's cool. That's one of the other cool facets of Lower Decks is going to be. Even though it's going to be kind of lensed through this like slightly more tongue-in-cheek style, we are going to get some kind of a glimpse of the post-Nemesis future in that, as well as the more far-flung Picard show.
Yeah, which is going to be an extra 19 on top of Lower Decks.
Right. That's cool, man. I can't wait to just see more of Picard's era.
And there are so many Star Trek characters that would have been out and about during the time of Lower Decks that you could bring those people on to be voice actors and have some cameos in there. So
yeah, has there been any talk about that yet?
Mike McMahon said he was asked that at Vegas, and he was like, "Yes, like of course I want to get Patrick Stewart on the show. I want to get everyone on the show. Like we're trying to do that. Yes,
that's cool."
And speaking of Sir Patrick Stewart, he loves animation, and he liked appearing on Family Guy and American Dad and a bunch of voice actor-y stuff. He was the poop emoji, for Christ's sake. So, if you're
maybe he just loves money. It's just all about the Benjamins.
He doesn't need any more money at this point.
That's true. And I got to say, when he does those, I feel like he really puts himself into it. His stuff on Family Guy is really pretty funny.
Watch the video of him being the cowboy country singer. like no matter what he does, like he always gives it like 110%. Like,
absolutely,
he's like a actor's actor, like professionally. Like he you pay him to do a job, and he does the fuck out of that job.
I remember when he was on SNL in the 90s, and he did the All Things Scottish sketch show that they did, and sang that 500 Miles song that was a one-hit wonder in the 90s.
Yeah, that's actually an Irish song.
My bad. But
aren't the Reclaimers? They're from Ireland, right?
Yeah. Again, gave it his all. This is just an SNL appearance where a lot of actors, you get actors like De Niro on there, who I feel like whenever I see him, I have to cringe because I just see him reading off the cue card so
he's
much.
Phoning it in.
And so badly. But yeah, that's not what Patrick Stewart's about. He's got British professionalism.
Well, actually, like most European people would have less work ethic, but
yeah, well, he has Shakespearean theater professionalism.
Yes, very disciplined actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have those three shows to look forward to, and then hopefully we'll hear more about Section 31. Well, I say hopefully. If you're looking forward to that show, hopefully we'll hear something about it getting like an official green light. But yeah, the Discovery writers Bowie Kim and Erica Lapolt are going to be show running that, and we've been told that's going to start production as soon as Disco Season 3 wraps up. And
so that'll be sometime late 2020.
Well, no, because Disco Season 3 is in production now.
Oh, so right. I was thinking of air dates, not.
Yeah, so air dates. If you want to talk about air dates, so like next year. I'm glad you bring that up, because that's going to be the next thing I want to talk about. Is I think we're getting Picard in February 2020. I'll say why in a moment.
Okay.
But I think
because they have had no formal announcement.
Yes, it has not been announced yet. But I think we'll get that in February, and then 10 weeks later in April, or they might even, or they'll probably wait till May. But then we'll get Disco Season 3, and then either late summer or in the fall. We will get Lower Decks.
Outrageous.
Is my prediction. And then after that, maybe the Picard Season 2, because they are talking now like they're going to start production on that in March.
Yeah, I saw those announcements, and it's just exciting that Season 2 is already...
Yeah, because they've wrapped Season 1. Like, it's in the can.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I say Picard will probably be in February.
Mm-hmm.
I got to mention the future tie-in material that we're getting.
Right.
And but first of all, let me just say, Picard is going to be a big game changer in that, because the novels are going to have to figure out what they're doing, because they have this completely other timeline.
We got to do a book report on those. We got to do the Picard prequel novel and comics.
But I'm talking about the novel universe in general, that it currently exists.
Right. This is going to probably be
all the post-Nemesis novels.
It's going to be overthrowing their canon.
But
very likely
they have a plan for that. We've been told. So I think we'll get some type of timeline altering event.
Really?
Or they'll make that into its own little pocket universe.
And something that they would probably only even mention in the books and not bother with in the show.
Of course, yeah.
But you think they're kind of trying to play nice with the with people who've read all those books, and they don't want to quite chuck it into the trash the way Star Wars did? Because Star Wars was just like that. All that stuff is thrown in the junk.
Yeah, but I don't think Star Trek fans would react the same way, because most Star Trek fans understand that the books were never canon, and the books have been overwritten by the shows and stuff before.
Right.
And really, the Star Wars books were never canon, but a lot of Star Wars fans...
They've invested a lot of time and effort in it, and they're ready to go on the incel attack.
They're a little bit more entitled. I wouldn't call them incel, that's a little cruel, but yeah, they're a more entitled, less intelligent fan base, or less thinking, less cerebral.
Yeah.
That
was a nice way to kind of bring some peace together after what I said. We're both Star Wars fans. We both read some of the books.
Yeah, and I think most of them sucked, and I was okay to see that continuity thrown away. But
yeah,
I digress.
We think they're going to play nice and maybe do some sort of. Have they said words to that effect that they're going to try and
very very
explain
vaguely
how the continuity changes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I kind of hope they did that.
And we also have some Kelvin books coming out, which is a new thing they haven't been able to put out until now.
Mm-hmm.
And but we're going to get a Picard prequel novel, and also with the comics, there's going to be a Picard prequel comic. So let's talk about both of those. The novel is called The Last Best Hope, which sounds very Babylon 5-ish.
Yep.
But the book is coming out in February.
Yeah.
So if you remember when Discovery premiered in September of 2017, they released the book Desperate Hours. And it came out on the 26th, on your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
You have a birthday coming up.
That's true.
Next week. Tell Dave, leave us a comment just to tell Dave happy birthday.
By the time this airs, will it have gone?
No.
Okay.
It hasn't happened yet, but it's on the horizon. But people won't be watching this in the far future where it's done happen.
Okay. Well, whatever.
But anyways, but 2 days after Disco premiered, they released that prequel novel. We have a prequel novel for Picard coming out in February, so I think we're going to get the show premiere in February. Also, there is the prequel comic Star Trek Picard Countdown, written by Mike Johnson, who also wrote Star Trek Countdown, the prequel comic going into Star Trek 09 a decade ago.
Yeah.
And that was a 4-issue miniseries that came out in the months counting down to the release of Star Trek 09 back in May of 2009.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the first issue coming out in November.
Yep.
And if it's 4 issues, that's November, December, January, February.
Yeah.
So
your timeline works out pretty decently, Sherlock.
And I also...
Sorry, I meant holodeck Sherlock.
Well, so I'm Data.
Yeah.
It's even better.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't you want to... But you probably want to be holodeck Moriarty.
Okay. I guess I have a villainous side.
Yeah.
But I can roll with that. He was a smart guy too.
Yeah. Did they ever revisit him after he went off to explore and stuff?
No.
Huh, okay.
But the actor says he's open to coming back.
Really? The guy who played Moriarty?
Yeah, he's been saying that for literally decades at this point.
Yeah, I was about he's still alive?
Yeah, he does con appearances.
Okay.
But the last thing I want to bring up on why I think the Picard show is going to premiere in February is we know that we have some short treks that are due out soon.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first one of those is going to drop in October.
Oh, wow.
And,
so this is really what's going to be there to appease us during the wait for some of these ones.
Yes.
Is the short treks.
And the reason why none of this has been confirmed yet, I think they're holding on until New York Comic Con. They have a panel October 5th where I predict now they will announce that Picard is going to premiere in February. They're going to announce that Short Treks is going to come back in October. And we'll have the exact dates for all this stuff.
I think that's pretty reasonable. I've come to trust your intuition on these things, so I'm ready to get behind it. Is our short treks going to be weekly?
No, they're going to be. I think they're going to be monthly again.
Oh, monthly! Jesus.
Yeah, well, that's how it
Christ.
was last time. But we'll be covering those. We'll be covering each and every one.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be fun.
We don't know exactly what we'll be covering between now and Picard, but I have some ideas.
Can we call it short text?
Short text? We can try. But that we'll be covering that, and we'll also be covering the New York Comic Con, which is going to happen about 2 weeks from now by the time this is released. However, that might be a little late out the gate because I have a wedding to go to that weekend. So it might be a few days, might be another week, might be 3 weeks before we return. But we'll definitely discuss whatever news comes out of the panel at New York Comic Con.
We ain't going nowhere.
And we'll be covering short treks and who knows what other topics. Of course, if you have anything you'd like to hear us discuss, by all means, let us know. And
but it is exciting to be in a time when, among other things, there is content for fandom like us to do. There's like just so much stuff that's coming up. We don't have to do any filler ourselves. So we can. There's always new announcements and new shows. At this point.
Next year we have 3 seasons of Star Trek to talk about.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, that's the next year. Like this year.
There'll be some short treks in there too?
Yes.
Probably.
So this last year was like our busiest year.
Yeah.
Just doing like Disco Season 2, and we talked about all the Kelvin movies. Next year is going to be even more content.
Yeah. Super exciting.
Yeah, so stick around, listen to the podcast, watch the channel. You don't want to miss it.
Right on.
And next time sometime in 2 to 3 weeks, whenever we can get it out, we will discuss that New York Comic Con panel. Until then, as always, live long and prosper, y'all. Thank all of you so much for checking out this installment of Tex-Trek. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to like our YouTube videos and subscribe to our channel. Audio-only version of episodes are available at our website, www.tex-trek.com. Please check out our site, especially if you just want an audio-only podcast. We have that available for you. Y'all can also keep up with us online. You can follow us on Twitter, @TXTrek, or you can check us out on Facebook at www.facebook.com/tex-trek. Please, by all means, let us know what you think by dropping a comment anywhere you see fit. We definitely want to hear your feedback. Let us know what you liked and what you would like to see more of, what you would like to see differently going forward. If you want to email me directly, go ahead. I can be reached at fatherlyactual@tex-trek.com. Thank all y'all again. Take care.